Remember last week the narrative was all about Fox allegedly acting as an arm of the Republican Party. This weekend, two White House heavies got up early and went to TV studios, and they made this war even worse by saying Fox isn't a real news organization, and you real news people shouldn't associate with them. Oh, so Acorn was not a real story. Did the New York Times and the Washington Post miss it? Did they admit it? Yes, yes, and yes. Was Van Jones a real story? Did the Obama media miss it? Yes and yes. Are the Obama czars, all 30-something of them, a real story? Yes. Is the 9.8% unemployment rate and the failure of the stimulus bill, are those good stories, actual news? Fox covers those. Is Afghanistan a story? Is Pakistan? Yes to both. Now listen to White House media Merlin, Anita Dunn, the one who started this war.
One of the reasons we did so many of the David Plouffe videos was not just for our supporters, but also because it was a way for us to get our message out without having to actually talk to reporters.
Ooh, you don't have to talk to a reporter? Why, that's so Bushian.
We just put that out there and make them write what Plouffe had said. So it was very much we controlled it as opposed to the press controlled it.
Yeah. So Fox doesn't go along with being controlled. That's first. Second, the other media did. Jacob Weisberg, in a piece called The O Garbage Factor.
What's that about?
Fox, it isn't just that Fox is bad, but according to Jacob Weisberg, it's un-American.
Oh. Okay.
You know why it's un-American? Because he says the European style of partisan press has been brought to America, and it is Fox. Oh, okay. Is it un-American to dissent from power? I didn't know it was. A few months ago, Jacob Weisberg would be saying it was the essence of America. Over there on MSNBC, and I don't suppose anyone would say that's an objective news organization.
No, they wouldn't, John. Well, actually, they would, I think.
They say they are, but I
we know they're not.
Well, anybody looking at it would say. But old Joe Scarborough, every so often he decides to swim upstream over there. And so he's talking to Mika, and Mika spent many years at CBS and is forced to admit liberal organization top to bottom.
You know that everyone you worked for, they were all liberals, they were all pro-choice, they were all pro-gun control, they were all, let me ask you this question. When did you work at CBS?
I worked collectively over a course of 10 years there.
Give me years.
2001 to 2007.
Okay, how many people that you worked for at CBS do you think voted for George W. Bush? Of all the thousands you worked for, how many people at CBS do you think voted for George W. Bush?
A very small percentage.
Maybe 1%?
I don't know.
1%? No, 1.
Can you think seriously of one correspondent, of one producer, one anchor that was a George W. Bush fan?
I can.
You can think of one?
I can think of one, yes.
Oh, okay.
One.
But
how many people did you work for?
Many more than that. And that's my point. I mean, you're making my point.
Thank you. At the same time, Mika being all over the place. A little bit on the daffy blonde side, that Mika. This morning she said
easy, Trigger.
Hey, I know you love her. And she is easy on the eyes. This morning she said, well, the White House should do this. They should go to war against Fox because it's not a proper news organization. This coming from a woman on an NBC News outlet who interviews her father. I mean, I know that all news organizations do that. Let's bring on Ma and Pa and ask them questions about. And has Pa ever supported George Bush? No. Robert Gibbs this morning was asked if making money, as David Axelrod says the News Corporation does, is evidence that it's not a news organization. And Gibbs said, I don't think that David would tell you that all of you aren't in the business of making money, speaking of the press arrayed in front of him. I would say sometimes programming can be tilted towards accentuating those profits. I mean, how do you make money in television?
Ratings.
What do ratings indicate?
People watching.
People watching, really? Like people choosing to watch what's on television?
Like Chris Matthews doesn't get ratings, and it's probably because he sucks.
It's probably because the point of view he's pushing isn't accepted widely in the general public.
And he's bad at it.
Well, he is really bad at it. It's been a mystery to me. There are shows on MSNBC that have no viewers. I can name them. Dr. Nancy Snyderman, Dylan Ratigan. We're talking about scratching. Why is it they stay on the air? Because someone believes. Some manager believes in what they're saying. Two of the serial offenders, in this far-left demonizing of presidents, and they're not demonizing Barack Obama, demonizing George W. Bush, got their feelings hurt this last week when they were called out on it.
We begin tonight with President Obama's trip to Texas today, and President Bush the elder using that trip as an occasion to take a weird, unexpected swipe at me and Keith Olbermann.
I'm thinking back to when I was president, we got tons of criticism, but it didn't seem day in and day out quite as personal as some of these talk show people. And it's not just the right. There's plenty of people on the left. If you want me to name a couple of names, I'll be glad to do that for you. Go ahead. Keith Olbermann and Rachel Maddow. I mean, here's a couple of sick puppies.
He's the father of it. And I don't mean he's the father of George W. Bush. I mean, he's the father of the process that took us to the place we are now. He is the man who employed Roger Ailes.
Oh, I see. Roger Ailes, who now runs the Fox News channel.
So that's why Keith screams?
Yeah, he's. It goes back to let me guess.
Willie
against Dukakis, Willie Horton.
He and Roger Ailes are the men who ran the Willie Horton ad against Mike Dukakis. He and Roger Ailes are the people who played the scam on Dan Rather. So it's very ironic to hear George H.W. Bush from this lofty perch and with real, I thought I heard anger in his voice against you and me, and mispronouncing your name, which adds to his credibility. Just sort of ignoring the fact, hey, you don't like this, buddy? It's your responsibility. You fix it. You started it.
Oh, really? Now, what was Keith Olbermann doing when the Willie Horton ad ran and when George H.W. Bush went on the air with Dan Rather and live and shut him down?
Jump shots.
Yeah, 3-point shots. And what exactly was the problem with H.W. Bush insisting that his interview with Dan Rather be live?
Nothing.
Just insisting that Dan Rather not be able to edit the interview, but that he'd do it live, and that he'd get confrontational with Dan Rather, who was going to put his thumb on the scale under the table where you couldn't see it. What was the problem with that? These guys like to play a fixed game. And when they get caught at it, then they scream bloody murder. You know what this is really all about? Kicking Bush around doesn't work anymore.
He's not there.
He's not there. You know who is there? Fox.
You know what? If you don't like it, go on the internet and complain.
Email John now. GibsonRadio@foxnews.com.
I should have tried this internet thing long ago.